There we go. Recording started. Welcome in, everybody. Really excited to continue this just foundation laying, not trying to move too fast. What the hell is a customer platform? Why do we even need a user group just for this topic? Good to be with you, George.
It is great to be here. I am super excited for this conversation. It is not every day that I get to sit in the halls with all of these humans and Jack Coopersmith. Just throwing that out there.
You doing all right, Jack?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I will say I'm a little bit bummed that summer is on the back nine here. So definitely went quick, but I am really looking forward to inbound this year. So that's something that is now very front of mind. So hope to see everyone in person if you all are coming to Boston. Willem, I've never met you in person, I don't think. So I hope to see you in Boston too this year.
This year I won't go. The last 2 years I went, but for me it's a little bit of a pain to go to inbound. I wake up at 2 in the morning. That's 7 Irish time, and yeah, that's the end of it basically. So this year during inbound I'll be in Spain enjoying the sunshine.
Oh, I mean, I'm happy for you, but I'm sad. I'm just gonna throw that out.
No, we're not going to be sad at inbound. That's for sure. Everybody deserves to be.
There I will be. I'm just putting that on record.
Okay.
We're recording.
All right. That's
There
fair.
are only
Guy
limited spaces for the
all
people
about
from
the-
Europe.
Oh,
Hey, Zach. Good to see you. Rafi, you got your hand up? Just want to make sure. Yeah. So we're talking about. So our first session in June was customer platform. What is it? And as HubSpot describes it, you've got Smart CRM, you've got engagement layer of hubs, and then we got connected ecosystem, which we will be talking about next month. Got some exciting guests lined up for that, including Max Cohen. He's already committed. That's going to be fun. After inbound too. So really, inbound, the place that brings it all together, should be a good conversation. But yeah, I invited Jack just because, well, first thing that came to mind, he's in charge of talking about the hub that isn't really a hub, or maybe it is a hub and it's just got some objects and it's new and we're kind of sneaking it in on people. But also he's been around a little bit and he's seen the evolution of HubSpot going from, marketing platform now all the way to customer platform. So I appreciate you stopping by and, giving us, your 2 cents on the whole situation.
Appreciate you including me here. And while I definitely do wear the Commerce Hub hat and literally wear the Commerce Hub sweatshirt pretty much every single day, I definitely have spent almost 8 years at HubSpot now. So George, you have me edged out by a little bit when it comes to your time in the HubSpot ecosystem.
I didn't know that.
But I've seen the movie. I've seen the tools evolve a lot. And the one thing that stands out to me the most, though, even we've all seen these tools evolve a lot, even if you've just been around the HubSpot ecosystem for a year or so. The one thing that I really appreciate about the HubSpot platform, though, is there are some things that just don't change when it comes to how we build our products, which I know is something that we'll chat about today. And so while we've evolved a lot, we have the same foundation, and it's a sturdy one that I think we're going to continue to build upon, that I know we're going to continue to build upon long into the future. So I'm super excited for this conversation. I think that this is a big deal, and this is something that is also allowing businesses to just get online easier and quicker, which is something that is really important and is something that is a huge theme of ours as we go into 2025 as well. Again, something that I'll give you all some more insight into as we continue this conversation.
Ooh, I like that. I like that insight.
Details.
Yeah. So what? And just if you haven't figured it out yet, we keep it pretty casual. If you want to jump on, be a part of the conversation, please don't hesitate to just jump on the mic and share your question or your feedback or whatever's on your mind. We've got some good feedback about this like just taking the conversation where it needs to go. These are complex topics, especially as it comes to using, if you're used to seeing 1 or 2 hubs and now we got 6 hubs to deal with, and a smart data and AI and all this stuff. So please don't hesitate to jump in and join the conversation.
Don't get me started on 6 hubs. That's not what I did today.
That is it not? Is it not?
Kind of is, but not in the direction that my brain immediately goes. Like, anyway, let's move forward.
Yeah. So like, Jack, I liked your thoughts on like you sharing some historical context on where we've been and what you've seen evolution wise, but why is it so important right now to kind of understand the historical context in your opinion?
That's a good question. Why is it important to understand the historical context? I think if you understand our historical context, you have a decent amount of understanding as to where we're going to be going. And I also think it's helpful to understand just the thought process of our leadership as well. I mentioned this a couple of minutes ago, but one thing that we always talk about is like zigging while others zag. I'll give you a couple of examples. Since we were founded, pretty much everyone in like the investor community has been saying like, are you all going to move up market and compete against the enterprises? And like, our answer has been no. We're pretty comfortable with the SMBs, and there's a huge market here that we really want to capitalize on. Another one, we really were built on our marketing tools, and in general, folks would integrate their Salesforce platform. And so we had a really robust Salesforce integration that I know a ton of folks have been using. Fewer folks are using though, because we decided to build our own CRM. That was another one of those like kind of controversial things. And we took a little bit of a couple years to really build it out, but we're a huge player in the CRM space. And so I think it's helpful to know the historical context, because HubSpot's unique in a lot of ways. And I think if you understand our thought process historically as to how we've built our products and how we've made decisions and who we've been solving for, you have a decent idea as to where we're going to go. So a lot of things that like I show folks, like, here's what we're building next. The amount of times that people are like, yeah, I get it. And you know what? I could have guessed that if you asked me. It's like, yeah, that's the point too. So I think the historical context, you can know a decent amount around how our execs are thinking simply based on like knowing how we've been thinking about it over the past couple of years. I'm curious, Chris, George, if you all agree, because you all stay really close to all of the developments. Like, George, can I call you out? What's your take on that? Do you agree? Do you know what's coming next simply because you've been around as long as you have?
I mean, I feel like I have ideas of what's coming next just because I've watched the evolution of what's going on. And also, even along the way, like, let's be honest, we were maybe 4 to 6 years into HubSpot. We were getting past the Salesforce HubSpot embargo. And we're like, oh, CRM's coming. And I remember having a conversation. It was Marcus Sheridan and I, and we're like, you know what? HubSpot's going to go e-commerce someday. Like, there's going to be an e-com hub. And this was like probably 2-3 years before anybody even thought about saying commerce hub. And I even stepped out. It might have been this meeting last month, but I was like, you know what, where HubSpot's going, I believe there's going to be a humans hub. There's going to be an HR hub. Like, there's going to be let's get the rest of now, I don't know that for real, but we're recording. And if it happens, I will pull up this dang recording and I will share it with the internet. But like, yes, I do believe seeing the structure of what's kind of been happening, that this is probably going to become a feature. Oh, that's an idea right now, but in 6 months, that'll probably be something we can do. And I love the layers, Jack, that we end up getting. Just the other day, we were doing something for a client, and we're like, oh, that's not possible. And I'm like, yes, it is. There's this beta right over here that we can turn on and do that thing that you want with association labels. And so it's just beautiful. And by the way, because we're talking about Commerce Hub, earlier, before we started this, Jack, I was telling you an example of how we're using that. It blew the minds of one of our clients when we're like, well, we'll just build a form that creates a time audit that gathers the information and then lets them pay for the service that you're going to provide afterwards. And like, wait, we can do that? I'm like, with HubSpot, anything's possible. So yes, to answer your question in a long-winded way, Jack, I feel like I know what's coming, and I feel like I know what we can do.
And how is that adoption barrier, if you don't mind me asking? Like when it comes to creating that form and implementing that, did you have to like get a PhD in Commerce Hub or no?
Oh God, no. Well, that's the thing that I've always loved. There's two parts of my brain. I want to piss and moan about we've hubbed ourselves to death. And this other part of my brain is like, but dang on it, it's so simple. Like anything that you go into on an individual tool, for the most part, other than reporting and workflows, that's where most HubSpot users are like, that's my Achilles heel. Yeah, it's everybody's. Thanks. Welcome to the club. But for most of the HubSpot tools, you get in there and you start using them, and it's just simple. The problem is complexity. All of us humans go, whoa, this is a lot of tools, especially when we have 6 hubs. Anyway.
So, quick follow up, Tony, and then I'll bring you on. But to kind of like pay off the topic, like we do have 6 hubs. I thought you could provide some unique insight, Jack, just because your hub is so like there's no free starter enterprise. It's not licensed the same way. It seems to me like a collection of CRM objects, but we don't necessarily refer to them as CRM. So what is your insight as far as, especially as the new pricing model, separates, like you're paying for CRM seats now. How have you, I imagine it comes up. How do you help people understand kind of where the line is, or maybe where it isn't sometimes?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I may flash some visuals at some point. And George, you mentioned don't get me started on like the hubification. I kind of do want to get you started maybe at some point, because I am curious to hear more about that. But to answer your question, Chris, I see a world where as we continue to invest, that things will continue to change. If you've watched HubSpot, the pricing and packaging will always evolve based on feedback that we get and based on the improvements to the platform that we ship. And so while that is indeed the current state of things when it comes to Commerce Hub, like not having a monthly cost, for example, who knows what things are going to look like in the future. I'd say right now, though, when it comes to how we think about hubs, and actually I will go ahead and share my screen if that's okay here. Here's a visual that we use quite a bit internally. And I know you're chatting about the marketplace during the next session. I have a few things that I could mention on that. But ultimately, that unified data layer, that customer platform, Smart CRM, is going to be the foundation of absolutely everything within HubSpot. And then we have our hubs, which are those engagement layers built on top of it. And while they all do serve different functions, they do have specific use cases and value props that serve specific teams. And so when we think about how folks use HubSpot, I'll tie back to ye old flywheel here that I'm sure plenty of folks are very comfortable with. We're a really good platform for helping people drive awareness and traffic to their website. We've gotten quite good at helping people convert that traffic into real leads that you can then warm up, pass along to your sales team, manage those opportunities within HubSpot. And then once that closes and turns into a customer, make sure that your customers are super happy, turn them into promoters, and therefore keep powering that flywheel. And so you can manage your entire customer journey within HubSpot. However, this one tiny little slice, like that actual sale, which I would argue is probably the most important part of a given customer journey to maintain momentum, is done completely outside of HubSpot, often done by the finance or the accounting team. And so when we think about like, why did we call Commerce Hub a hub? Well, in a lot of ways, it's because we're solving for that specific part in the customer journey and that specific team. So our hope is that instead of just having all that momentum get to a closed deal and then say, hey, finance person, when you get back from vacation, can you send off the invoice? Did you send off the invoice? Did they actually pay the invoice? Instead, you can just empower your teams to manage that commerce process and still sync that data right over to your systems. But ultimately, like, long-winded answer, Chris, we're really trying to solve for that specific part of the customer journey and that specific team, just like we are the marketing team, the sales team, and the service sub team. And the last thing that I'll mention is when you have everything in one platform, teams can work more efficiently together. teams can also be more efficient in their own day-to-day as well. So George, I asked that question a second ago around like, did you need to have a PhD in Commerce Hub in order to do this? And the answer was heck no. I bet it's because it looked and felt like literally everything else within HubSpot.
Yes, but share your screen again. Chris, I'm going to ask for permission to hijack the meeting for a second. Can you go back to the what is HubSpot marketing tab that you had up? Like, no, I think it was the last one that you.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Let's have a conversation here for a second. You were like, the flywheel that everybody knows. Sure. Okay, let's look to the right of the flywheel that everybody knows. Dude, what are all the dots? Like, I'm looking at the platform version of the flywheel, and my mind goes in 1,000 different directions of like, why are the dots certain colors? What are the dots supposed to represent? Am I going to see more of this at inbound? And they're going to talk about platform. Listen, Jack, I know if you can't talk about this, you can't talk about this. But I saw this and was like, wait, this is something. How much can you say? How much can you can't?
To be fair, not a HubSpot.com website right here. And so when it comes to this specific visual, I really did want to just quickly pull this up because we will be chatting about like the evolution of our customer platform. Right. And I think that this does a good job of saying that, or of demonstrating that, I should say. And so, George, I wouldn't index personally too much on all of these. I guess the way that I would think about that at the highest level though, and I'll come back to this graphic specifically, tying back to Chris's comment a little bit earlier around my comment earlier around like, if you've understand where we've been, you kind of have a decent understanding as to where we'll go. And there are going to be plenty of areas where we will just not go. That's why we have 1,700 plus, at least 1,600 plus integrations that you can plug right in. And that's that word platform specifically. And so if you were to put me on the spot and say like, what are all of these extra things and dots and colors? They're not necessarily new hubs. We're not going to hub absolutely everything. I can promise you that, but they are if we don't have it natively within our system for you to start using, go ahead and find the tool that works best for you, plug it into our system and still be able to centralize everything in one place.
Okay. Yep. Beautiful.
No, I think the moment's gone. We've moved on. Don't worry.
Totally is. I'm happy to say I know exactly who you're referring to. I did actually connect with that person that night. And I think that there was an element of not connecting the processor yet to start using it. I forget the exact circumstances, but I'm glad to say we were able to chase that down and resolve that one. I think in so many ways, Chris, what you're putting your finger on is like we cover so much surface area, and Service Hub is, I don't know, maybe a 6-year-old platform at this point. And we definitely have people coming to HubSpot for our service tools. If we're going to be completely just intellectually honest with ourselves, though, like we are a CRM marketing and now really like sales front door still. And so while I hope that our invoicing tool is a front door in the near future, and I'll do everything I can to make that the case, in so many ways, sales, marketing, and the CRM is still our front door. And our hope is that with that, you can then adopt other tools like invoicing as easily as possible. And frankly, that's one of the reasons why we're building the tools the way that we are. Let me share my screen and kind of make a couple of comments on that, if that's okay too. So years ago, I was on the one-to-many onboarding team with HubSpot. And the goal was essentially to figure out, like, we have so many thousands of people coming in. They can't all speak to a given human. So like, what are the things that we can instill in this ecosystem to help people like get up and running as quickly as possible? And while it may be a bit of an oversimplification, I think there are really only like a couple of things that you need to have in your back pocket in order to learn HubSpot. 3 things specifically. Number 1, you have to be curious. Number 2, you have to understand how our CRM is structured. And number 3, you have to know how to get help. So when it comes to curiosity, I think that's just like something that is generally important when it comes to being a professional, and in so many ways I could argue like a good human being. But if you're curious, you'll be able to figure stuff out just at the highest level. If you understand how our CRM is structured, you'll understand that we simply have objects that associate with each other and have properties underneath. And our invoices object will look and feel just like our contacts, just like our companies, just like our deals. And if you understand how this is structured, you'll understand what you can do with this information. So this is really like how we're building the products. And then finally, if you know how to get help with HubSpot, I think that's just an absolute superpower. Using our knowledge base, using the academy, using the community, using our support team when you get hit, when you really do hit a roadblock. I think with that foundational knowledge, curiosity, and knowing where you need to look to get help, you can do absolutely anything with these tools.
I have a question or a comment, I guess, on the help portion. And sorry if I missed anything. I had to jump in and out a couple times. Nice to see you, Chris, and a lot of new faces. One maybe familiar one. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Zach. I run a small gold partner consultancy here. The help thing is, I think, hit a nerve a little bit, because I feel like there are some great avenues for help, but there's not a great like kind of like referral, like, hey, here's somebody like locally that could help you, or here's somebody who specializes in your industry, or like this kind of specific problem that you have, like this is how they can help. Like, you know, I had a VP of marketing sign up recently. He's a friend of mine, an old colleague, and he signed up for some starter tools, and he went through like hell just trying to get like some pretty basic things, you know, set up, right? And shame on him for not calling me first. Like, he knew I was around, right? So I'm like, hey, dude, like, why didn't you call me before being an idiot? But like, a lot of people don't have that relationship, right? And they're gonna go start doing things like, you know, sending 10,000 emails to somebody, you know, right, and not having their domain connected, and doing it in this, you know, and then like now they just, you know, did more damage than good. So like, before they even start trying and having these struggles, it's like, you know, I know the required onboarding is there to help that, but like sometimes people have just inherited things, and they're like, I need help from like a partner. Really, I think is kind of where I'm going with that.
Quick question on this, Zach, and I don't want to put my thumb on this. Or actually, is it safe to assume that this person, if you were like, hey, did you watch the HubSpot Academy before jumping in? Is it safe to assume that this person would be like, I don't have 6 hours in my day to run?
as everybody shakes their head on the call. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Like I can't tell you how many times like I leading the horse to water, it's like I could drown like a whole field of horses right now, and it's like no, it's like dude, I don't have time for this, right? Like I need to get results. Like my boss is like, you made this investment, right? We're gonna so let's go, move the needle. And I need somebody to go do, because I can't find people to even hire to do this kind of shit.
Yeah. Zach, it's funny. I had like a moment where you were talking about your scenario and I started laughing. This is why I raised my hand so high. I had a buddy. Oh my God, he texted me. He's like, hey, dude, do you think you could send me some like links to some HubSpot stuff? And I'm like, yeah, my address is 7002 Farm Pond. Like, dude, come over to my house and I'll freaking show you stuff. Like, what are you doing? And not everybody has that, Jack, but the HubSpot ecosystem needs to feel like they have that. Like you could just pop over to Zach's house, Chris's house, or George's house, and like, and get past the 6 hours of HubSpot Academy content to actually be able. Oh, that's how I connect these dots to that dot. Oh, okay, I get it.
And I feel a lot of people. There's an opportunity for HubSpot to do more than here's a directory of partners that you can just kind of like, toggle a couple of things in your filter, and maybe you get lucky and find a good one, and oh, by the way, you're going to do it based on whoever put the most effort into getting people to write them testimonials.
Yeah.
Right. Like I have 0 testimonials. Shame on me. That's something I need to work on. But like I can still do a hell of a good job for somebody. Like don't judge me based on my HubSpot profile.
I think that you are being judged basically on that. If you look into the partners directory, and there is some discussion going on there. But for me, one of the things that, and this basically boils down to a little bit what George said. If you get somebody coming in, you get a whole lot more return of investment, because what I see happen a lot is people look at, 6 hours of a marketing software training. They get realistically what they could get with, sorry, George, throwing you under the bus here, but what they get with George in an hour or less, and probably less. And then the question is like, okay, do I really want to waste that 6 hours? I feel that a significant portion of the academy is created for pre-sales. So before you actually, and as a marketing content. And that is where everybody struggles a little bit.
And Jack, I'll just say this and then you roll. In the trench content is hard to create because it has to be very contextual to the company and the conversations that they're having inside the walls. But if a company, HubSpot or other, could figure out how to inject the context in enough places in the trench content, ching, gold mine. I'm just going to throw that out there. Go ahead, Jack.
I'm glad you threw that out there, because I was going to throw that out there too, George, because that's what we're trying to work towards, frankly. A few high-level thoughts. First of all, Connect.com was very much featured at Inbound a couple of years ago. It's not something we've forgotten about by any means. So the whole concept of a broader HubSpot community, I think, will get us closer to where Zach, like that, end state is like, yeah, you're actually right around the corner and you're a HubSpot pro. Want to grab some coffee? So I think that will hopefully further that effort. I think HubSpot user groups like this one also help further that. And so that's a work stream that we have not forgotten about at all. When it comes to the partners, we right now will throw you in. There's a directory of thousands of them. And the amount of times that I've heard people come in and be like, Jack, can you just give me some guidance on this? I've heard that a million times. Accreditations. That's something that the team is really working towards as well, to essentially say, I have gone through all of this motion. This is some expertise that I, as this partner, have in this specific area. And so that's an area that our teams are talking a lot about nowadays. I think we're going to continue to invest there.
Don't you have to have like a certain number of employees and number of people that have gone through the required training, right? Certifications and all that?
There are definitely some, I think, relatively high barriers.
Yeah.
And I see those coming down over time. I see them high up front though, to maintain like the integrity of it. If
so
that's
for like a small, specialist like me, right? I can never be accredited.
Yeah.
Right. But I could put the work in, and I could gain the knowledge, and I could prove my worth still. I can still make that difference. Right. And still work with other partners to go do the things that, right. It's like no one's doing all of it themselves anyways. Like I'll hire, Chris to go do an integration for me. I'll go, hire, John to go do my so it's like, as long as I can still prove that I have what it takes to do it, then why should I be penalized as a small shop, compared to like these, I don't want to be big.
I'll be that guy. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be, right? And that's the thing. Like, they're and again, we're kind of going off total tangents here.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
Bring the squirrel back into where it needs to be for commerce and customer platform. But the thing is, like, the level of optimizing for individual humans to help individual humans is like not quite there yet. But it's got to get there, because here's the thing. Marketplace worked when it was like 50,000 customers. Support worked when it was 100,000 customers. Guess what? I have people that are like, why? And again, I swear I'm going to say this, and I'm going to shut up, Chris. I have people who come to me that say, why would I drive a blue pickup truck when I can drive an orange Ferrari? We talked earlier that we went into the CRM space. We talked earlier that we got people coming because of invoices. We got people coming through the sales door. We got people coming through the service door. Not everybody is coming through marketing like it used to be. And therefore, we're entering this time of an ecosystem where individual humans need to be able to help individual humans. And there needs to be something that displays and gives you access to that in an easier way than, oh, I've got to go answer 5,000 community posts and get elevated to a top leaderboard, or I've got to become a gold partner and up in the marketplace and beg everybody for 5,000 freaking reviews and testimonials as I work my ass off along the way. Like, okay, I'm shutting up.
I'm the first to admit that we definitely have some more work to do here. And we definitely I think it's a very HubSpot-y thing too, to like want the smaller companies that are scrappy in our ecosystem, and not just the giant partners that gobble up absolutely everything. And with that, like that, I'm not sure how much you all know around like how our customer success org is thinking about services in the future, but there's a growing function within HubSpot around like, how do we connect these new customers with the right partner? And I have like 4 or 5 friends that have joined that team in just the past year or so. So we know I'm the first person to admit we have more to do here, and that's why we're putting our money where our mouth is on this. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. I'd be lying if I said we're going to have this solved by inbound this year, because it is something that is big, but it's not something that we're closing our eyes to. I can promise you all that. It is something that we're thinking a lot about. Adjacent to that, if I can mention one other thing, HubSpot is in planning season right now. So we're thinking a lot about 2025 and what are the things that we care the most about. And one of the things that, Willem, I know for a fact you've heard 1,000 times, as has every other HubSpotter, we need to make sure that folks can realize value out of HubSpot as quickly as possible. And so how do we make this as fast and easy to use as possible? I think that's a few things. That is consistency across the UI, so that, George, if you need to create a payment form, you can do so in just a couple of minutes. It's also doing things like inline videos. So for example, we were just working with Kyle Jepson to get more videos in like for our new QuickBooks integration. You're in here, here's the context that you need. Here's what you need to do. Like in less than 5 minutes, go ahead and do so, as opposed to a giant Academy post or Academy video. And then could I see a world where there's more synergy between connecting partners within the HubSpot app with those actual users? I don't know why we wouldn't at least consider that. And so when it comes to time to value and when it comes to connecting partners with the customers under the right circumstance with the right partners, those are all things that we're talking a tremendous amount about internally. So I promise we're not just like turning our head to it at all. We're very much investing in it.
I will say, like, just props to Adriti, like that 3-minute how to do an invoice video is money. And we need, like, the thing is, like, we need to get to one of those for all 1,000 updates. And again, it's a challenge, but you know, lots on my mind, but I'll let Tony go here.
I think we may be solving the wrong problem. In so much that, like you said, Chris, you know, we do an updates video every week. Nobody watches ours, but we do one every week, and we have 3 pages of updates, you know, where they move the full stop to the end of the line and all that kind of thing. Unless you get 1,000 videos on each move. Right. Okay. Let me start again. Right. So what I'm saying is, every time we add a tool to HubSpot, we increase its complexity. Right. Adding things increases complexity. I don't think the solution is teaching, and we are putting our money where our mouth is on this, because as you know, Chris, we're pivoting our business to address this very specific scenario, right? We don't think the answer is teaching the individual people how to use HubSpot. We think the answer is teaching management teams how to create adoption through their businesses, which is a totally different thing. Because I think, in my experience of dealing with 5 years of onboardings and 5 years of customers and so on and so on, the biggest issue we face is the fact that management shit the bed. They put HubSpot in because somebody told them it was a great idea, or they put HubSpot in because they think it's going to sell. You know, as I keep saying, hashtag HubSpot is not a strategy, right? So managers then delegate it to somebody else. Managers give it to admins who've effectively running all of the spaces that managers are missing from. I mean, we have the crazy scenario. Our biggest customer requires a sales admin to create spreadsheets from a HubSpot reports. That's our biggest customer. That's our biggest enterprise customer. That right. So, what we realized is suddenly, actually, we're teaching the wrong people here. All we need to do is teach management how to use the platform. That's the difference, I think. As HubSpot becomes a platform, truly a platform, it has transcended point solutions. It's transcended all these individual tools, right? There are people in businesses that can work all these individual tools. That's fine. But the issue now is, where do you start? You go on a call with the GS. All the GSs are talking about is the social tool and the custom reports tool and tools, and customers are like, oh, this is fantastic. And then they switch it on and they go, right, what do I do now? And without what we call it a management control system. It's not, we haven't made that term up. That's a very regular term in business. Without a management control system, without the business, me and Chris talk about this all the time, translating its actual strategy into HubSpot, because HubSpot is not a strategy, then you're not going to get full adoption of the system. And then you get HubSpot decay, and then you get clients churn, and then they blame the tool, and then they go to somebody else because they think it's going to fix it, and then they have exactly the same problems. They have exactly the same problems because we're trying to fix the wrong people. To your end of the lesson.
Do you, Tony, think about like the RevOps persona within a given business? Are you thinking about like connecting with the founders, with the COO?
Yeah, I think RevOps. I'm quite old, Jack. RevOps is what we used to call management. And as a sales director, you know, I come up as a salesperson, sales manager, sales director, managing director. The RevOps, as I see it now, was just running your business well. And again, particularly from a siloization or an alignment perspective, cultural perspective, you know, these things are enabled by good management teams, good management practices, management control systems, dare I say it. So it strikes me as really ironic that we've created a function to stick onto a business to try to solve the fact that everybody's going off into different functions. you see, I think it's management's job. We effectively go, right, there's a problem, here's a solution, bang. Here's a tool, let's stick it in HubSpot, that's fine, that's absolutely fine. But until management pull the tool through their business, that's what we're looking for, right? It's management to say, okay, there are a few partners on this, right? Hands up, have you ever said, and you may not, right? And I don't blame you if you don't want to put your hands up, that's fine. But have you ever said to your customer, why do you want to buy HubSpot? George, you're my hero. Chris, I know you do.
I ask him, like, what did you hire HubSpot for?
Yeah. But there's those of us out there. I've been there myself. I've been talking about it. Interestingly, people are talking about challenge in my world of LinkedIn at the minute. People are talking about challenging the customer. And I was talking to Max Trailer about it earlier. And I think you can only challenge somebody, right, if you're comfortable, if you're confident, if you're a big agency, you've got cash in the bank, and maybe you've got good mental resilience. And a customer says to you, right, I'd like to do HubSpot. And you sit there and think, fuck, this is going to be a disaster. Excuse my language. This is going to be a disaster. And you don't say that, because you're gonna burn your onboarding fees, as little as they are, because they're increasingly transactionalized anyway. They can increasingly compartmentalized and commercialized. It's all about HubSpot reps want to know how much onboarding is. They don't care what you do on onboarding. They want to know how much the onboarding is, right? So all these things are all leading to the same problem, which is the shit's all rolling downhill. So all the poor saps out there have to use the thing, and management sit up there in their ivory towers going, oh, this HubSpot shit don't work. Sorry, that was a very long answer, Jack.
I'm trying to figure out how to bring this back to the Smart CRM versus Hubs.
See,
well,
and Chris,
but-
I'm trying to figure out if we should rename the title of the actual meeting.
Well, I think
I think it does though, Chris, right? Because I think this is the whole point, actually.
Yes.
I think now we get into a critical mass of HubSpot shenanigans where you can say to a business, this is not your point solution nonsense anymore. This is not just about doing email marketing or live chat or so on. This is a way to reflect your business strategy in the digital world, right? This is true digital transformation. Smart CRM, I think, is a brilliant word for that, because it just conjures up all the right images. What we're not doing is saying, however, management team, you have to drive the transformation, right? Transformation doesn't happen when you put a tool in. Transformation isn't just about switching someone on or signing up to a SaaS product. This will enable, the Smart CRM will enable your transformation, but you still have to do the transformation work, which is really hard. So for me, that's what the shift, I think that's what we'll get to. And I think I see signs of HubSpot moving that way by trying to simplify the messaging, which is what I understand from Customer Platform and Smart CRM. They're trying to say, this is still one thing. It's still like, remember inbound? It's still like inbound, right? It's still one thing. It's just it's got lots of complexity. But now we're trying to make it another one thing so that people can understand it. That's great. That's a good play. But we need to push, or we're talking about closing the adoption gap, not onboarding, not implementation, the adoption gap. The difference between buying HubSpot, getting it set up and getting trained, and using it in your business. We are creating management control systems for our customers so they can pull HubSpot through their business. That's the whole point. And that's what we see as the big opportunity in the next couple of years. So I think Smart CRM is spot on, actually. Bill?
Tony, I do have a question about that, because you're saying basically that it has to be pulled through the company from the top, basically.
Or maybe pushed down through the company from the top. Yeah, but
or push down. But that would mean that whoever pushes it and whoever is on the top, so that is likely the C-level, the C-suite or something like that, that they have to know what HubSpot is capable of, and that they would have to know the details.
No, I disagree. I know where you're coming from, and the ability to scope these changes and things can still be delegated down to product teams, to project managers, and so on and so on. The transformation is not about enabling specific technology or understanding specific technology. Transformation at C-suite level is about, look, and I think this is where actually most of the onboarding fails. It's not about doing extra stuff, guys. It's not about putting everything in HubSpot and then having to run off a spreadsheet at the end. This is about working different. That's the big piece. That's the bit that everybody fails. Let's put HubSpot in. Okay, let's do all the things that we were doing before and the things that HubSpot wants us to do. It's not about doing more, it's about doing different. And that's where the C-suite comes in. This is where the leadership comes in, right? The leadership are about painting the picture, the brave new world, the transformation. What are you transforming to? What is the point of digital transformation? So I talk about customer centricity. Nobody's really customer centric, least of all HubSpot. Sorry, Jack.
Oh.
Data driven. So that was an unfair dig. Sorry about that. Being data driven, right? And being technologically enabled. This is where HubSpot comes in. That's what it does. It puts the customer at the center of everything you do. It allows you to make decisions based on actual data, reliable data. It allows you to technologically enable your sales teams, your marketing teams, your service teams, and everybody else. I think that's where we need to skate to.
Okay.
So we're not going to drag the admins along to do that. Sorry, Joseph, I'm ranting again.
No.
Tell me to shut up.
No. I want to double down on Willem and actually say, yes, kind of. Like where my brain goes to what you were saying is, yes, they need to be informed enough to enable and empower the people that can pull or push it through where it needs to be pulled or pushed through. Like we have to remember C-suite is the visionaries, right? So how do we enable the visionaries to actually let the integrators or implementers do the pushing and pulling? So there does have to be some layer of curiosity, some layer of education, but it doesn't have like, I would never try to sit down with anybody in the C-suite and be like, and this is how we're going to make these 30 properties that engage this workflow that then creates this object. No. They don't care about that. It's like when we used to talk about blogging and call it blogging. No, we're going to write educational articles. And here's why. That's all you need to know. We'll make it in the kitchen and you'll just see the luxurious dinner that comes out on your table afterwards. Like, so yes to the education piece, but again,
they just need to know that it's going to make the dinner and the teams need the dinner.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
Both you, George, as well as you, Tony, are talking about a situation where you're already on the table and you're already sitting on the side of the C-suite. And I think that the people who actually have you sitting on the table already have a massive advantage over the ones who are like, yeah, we've always done this. Why doesn't this keep working? And they have people working under them who are like, nope, it's 5 o'clock. Bye. And why would I actually care? And
Can open, worms everywhere.
Sorry.
I love it. Go on, you were posing a question. Sorry, Willem.
Now, for me, the question is like, how do those companies start, and will they actually see that they need help? Because for me,
no, that's the tough bit that we've had to learn, right?
Yeah.
I learned about 3 years ago. I can't sell HubSpot. When I go in, I waste so much time trying to sell the thing alongside GSs or otherwise, but particularly if we sell it on our own, it's a gigantic waste of time. I need to talk to people who've already decided more or less they're going to have HubSpot. I can tip them over the line. I can help them. I can energize them. I can motivate the decision, but I can't sell it to them because they're all of those things that you just said.
Yeah.
Now, product lifecycle teaches us, right? These companies are going to die. Chris knows that I have this very strong perspective. Most of the businesses that are going to transform have, in my view. There are businesses out there that haven't transformed, and those businesses will die. And they'll probably die when their owner dies or retires or exits or moves on or whatever, because they haven't gone where they need to go and they haven't done it fast enough. So, and I love what you said about sitting at the table. That's the problem I face. How do I get on that table to have that conversation? Because I can talk to the admins and I've just done 35 onboarding videos. Piece of cake. But how do you get in and have that C-suite conversation? That's the trick. Because that's what I'm trying to say. That's where we need to have the conversation.
Jack, can you share the stat about paper checks?
40% of transactions, at least in the US, are still via paper check.
Yeah,
I
Chris,
have
you're
humans
missing the
pay
point,
me
dude.
to check in the mailbox. I'm like,
They're all going to die.
40%?
Of course.
Yeah.
They're all going to die. This is science. This is not my opinion, right? This is not conjecture. I can prove it on an Etch-a-Sketch in 15 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Look at the graph. The graph will show you over and over and over again that tail end, the laggards and the people who never join in, they'll just die. And they will die in their tens of thousands. Absolutely.
I think what's really frustrating is that as a partner, we can see like the death of these businesses happening more clearly than the owners. Like I've been able to tell teams like your business is in trouble. Like from what I see is going on, like things are trending in the wrong direction, and you need to make some drastic changes in how you run your business and make the investments in the technology and the process and the people. And by the way, get rid of some of these people, right, who aren't on the bus. Sorry. If you want to survive. And you say that, and they still don't listen to you. I mean, I'm working on a project right now with Chris where their ERP system is from 1988. And I'm not kidding. We're integrating with HubSpot. And I used to work for this company, and I sat in the office with the owner, and I said, this system is your Achilles heel. You can take everything you're doing here and do it all in HubSpot. And they laughed in my face, and they said, if you ever bring this up again, we may consider firing you.
wow.
But it always works.
Not really that extreme, but like I brought it up like 5 times, and then they said that. But like they were like, they just right. And then you're like, well, how do we get through to these people, right? That this is the way that like you need to go, or you're not going to survive.
Yeah, Chris, doubling down on your comment though, 40%. I love what Anton put in the chat. You don't want to know about Germany. Like you think your stats are bad. Like here you go. And by the way, Tony, bonus points for somehow getting Etch-a-Sketch into this episode. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
That's my technological level, George. I can do Etch-a-Sketch. Most of the things you guys talk about, no idea.
So I think as we wind this down, one takeaway is probably like Smart CRM versus Hubs, and trying to break up the customer platform in this way is not the right conversation to be having. Like, I didn't know like how it was going to go. But even now it's like, how do you even, like, people can't just enter in one door and like, not fall into like almost all the others.
Yep.
So, obviously that probably doesn't work for any kind of pricing model situation that's set up. And that's probably why it's on the rest of the ecosystem to help, help everybody understand, like, like the team is saying here, like, how do we bring HubSpot in a way that people understand? And that's what's scary, Jack. When I know that that's an initiative from home base, like the quickest path to value is certainly point solutions in the short term, right? But when we deliver that without like the rest, right, we it's hard to get to a place where the leadership team is gonna care about it sometimes, right?
You buy the platform, and that's really like the folks who get the most value out of our tools use all of them together by far. I'll pull a few other threads together as well. Tony, you made a comment that sunk in around how like the simplification of customer platform and Smart CRM, you kind of tied it back to like back in the inbound days. Frankly, I think, and George, this is kind of tying back to a comment that you made too. We know that there are a lot of hubs in a lot of areas. I see us going deeper in the like near future on each of those things. And I also see us leaning back into the simplification of like, here is what we are selling. We are selling a customer platform for you to manage your business. The other thing that's happening a lot internally on our end nowadays is we're going back to the conversations that we had 8 years ago when I joined the company, literally every single meeting that I was in when I started here, the words marketing Mary were mentioned. The persona that is now the end all be all for the entire company. And like, my hope is that every single HubSpotter has a sticky note on their computer that says the 2 words Gabby. That's the persona that this whole company is like mandated. Growth Gabby, if you didn't hear that, Tony. That is like, HubSpotters, you are solving for this person. And what we're all talking about here is like, how can we find the management teams that are the growth Gabbies? How can they get the people on their teams that are growth Gabbies so that those tools are actually adopted, because it's a complete wash if they're never adopted. And so as I look forward in like the chapters of HubSpot, I think that like 25, 26, and like, I know this is being recorded. Don't hold me to this, but like, I see us going deeper. I see us trying to simplify, and I see us really just being maniacal about how can we find those growth Gabbies? How can we make more growth Gabbies too?
So hold the phone. First of all, do I live under a rock? Did anybody else on this call know that there was not a marketing Mary, but a growth Gabby persona like that HubSpot was going at? Like, okay,
it is driving me nuts, George. I mean, like, it's everywhere here in HubSpot.
In HubSpot. But exterior, like, can somebody please shed some, like, I know we're being recorded, but if by somehow, some way that persona made it to my Slack channel or my email, I'd be like, thank you, Jesus. Like, I can actually see what we're trying to do as a combined unit. This is what HubSpot's trying to do. I'm a partner. Let me try to do that too. Like, because then I can wrap my brain around where you guys are trying to go, and I can help row the boat. Okay, anyway, I'll shut up.
No, I'd be, I haven't listened to everybody's inbound keynotes by any means. I would be full on astonished if you don't hear the words growth Gabby at inbound, because every single meeting that we're in now internally, like, what are you doing to solve for growth Gabby today?
I want to meet her. I'm just saying.
Well, thank you for leading
George,
the way.
Before wrapping up, Chris, George, I think something's going to happen. I think you're going to go increasingly technical agencies, and they're going to buy each other, and they're going to create massive smart bug types and Happies and of this world, all brilliant people. But you're then going to start to see growth companies that are heavier on, dare I call it, the management consultancy plays. That is what's recorded. So you'll actually, I don't think HubSpotters generally have the business acumen to be growth consultants. They could be RevOps people, but Chris, you were gonna, sorry.
He raised the finger. Chris is like, ding, ding.
Chris,
No,
Chris
I was
like,
just,
don't say that.
I was trying to, no, I was trying to point to the sustainable growth agency,
the logo
in my background.
Head.
But no, you
I
guys are right.
thought you were criticizing. I thought you were telling me off.
And this is where I also hope to higher power, Jack, that if growth Gabby is everywhere, I'd love to see some people that know how to talk to growth Gabbies, right? I think that's that training. And I mention it to almost every PM I talk to. Like, we've got to figure out how to talk to the rest of the business. That's not, marketing and sales.
Yeah. Or even admin.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're at time, so I want to be mindful. You've come across a passionate group here, Jack, and we know you bring the passion as well. And we thank you, for stopping by. And
we need
for one,
back. We need to
we'll definitely be having you back.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for being open.
I compromised with George at doing this once a month. I think maybe there's a future where it happens more often.
There might have to be, because these conversations are the type of conversations that need to happen. Like this is not only valuable for me and Chris, but this is valuable for everybody that's taking the time to be on this. I could see this as maybe like a twice a month thing. Yeah. Just saying. If you agree, by the way, you should let us know if we're crazy. Not right now, but if we're crazy or if it's a good idea, you should reach out, let Chris or I know. Hey, twice a month would be awesome.
Hey, I got. Let's do it twice a month. Let's do it every week. But let's change it to Growth Gabby.
Oh, we'll call it Growth Gabby.
We need to understand where she is, how we talk to her.
She's gonna have a seat. She's gonna be a speaker every. She's gonna keep us speaker slot up for her. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah,
we got to go.
Love this group.
We'll see you soon at Inbound.
Looking forward to it.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody. Have a
everybody.
great day or evening.
Bye.